So this shiny object right here is the HiFiMAN Ananda Unveiled. And it's one of the newer HiFiMANs that came out recently, and it hasn't really gotten that much attention. But it's one of the Unveiled series of planar magnetic headphones that they do. It's actually the cheapest one, and so I figured I would do a video talking all about it. So let's get going with the video. Alright, quick disclaimer, this unit was sent to me by HiFiMAN for review. Big thanks to HiFiMAN for sending it in, but of course I haven't been paid to say anything in particular about it, and all thoughts and opinions here are my own. Alright, so I think what a lot of folks will be wondering with the Ananda Unveiled is this just as good as the Aria Unveiled or HE1000 Unveiled, but cheaper? And the answer is no. No, it's not. But with that said, there are a lot of similarities here, and that extends to the sound quality that you get with them as well. So just like with the Aria Unveiled and the HE1000 Unveiled, you can see that with the Ananda Unveiled, they've removed a portion of the grill. So you can see the exposed magnets, and then in between the magnets is the exposed membrane. That gives me all kinds of anxiety. But let's just move past that. Let's just assume that you're okay with that. Let's take a look at what's going on with this one. You'll notice here that some of the magnets are rounded off, and some of them are squared. And that might be a key difference with some of the other Unveiled series headphones. But as far as the build and the rest of the design is concerned, the Ananda Unveiled resembles the build structure and the headband structure of the newer models that HiFiMAN has released, like the Edition XV and the HE600. So for ergonomics, think of this as being identical to what you get with the HiFiMAN Edition XV, with all the pros and cons that it has. I find that for myself, it's not too bad for comfort. I wish that the headband strap piece were a little bit more compliant, because when I extend it to fit on my head, I feel that this gets a bit taut and it can push down a bit on the top of my head. It's not too clampy for my larger than average head, but it's clampy enough that I do notice it, and I wish it were a little bit more forgiving. Regardless, I think most people are going to have a good time with this one for the ergonomics for long-term listening. Now for sound quality, I'm going to jump right into the data here done on the B&K 5 and 2.8, and you're going to see that for the most part, things are okay with the Ananda Unveiled. You get a little bit of roll-off in the bass. There's a more modal characteristic to the mid-range, which is similar to what you get with the HiFiMAN Edition XV, so that's those jaggedy features that you see there in the mids. That's not that perceptually relevant. And then things look, again, mostly normal in a good way, just that once you get into the treble, there's about a 10 to 12 dB peak at around 7 to 8 kilohertz, 7 to 9 kilohertz. What does this sound like? Straight up sibilance. So for most of the response, things sound great. And then you hear a vocal and the S's, F's, and T's or sh sounds come in. Everything is normal, and then suddenly it's like sss. Or if you hear certain drum sounds or percussive tones, it's like looking directly into the sun. It's not a great time. And that's kind of a shame, because if not for this treble resonance, this headphone would actually be kind of great. Like, it's pretty darn balanced for the rest of its response. Modal characteristics and wibbly wobbly mids notwithstanding, like the wideband presentation that you get is kind of great with this headphone. It's just fatiguing. It's just too much in the treble, too much of the zing. I'm just going to switch over and show you how the Ananda Unveiled measures on my own head. And here you can see that again, apart from the more modal characteristics of the mid-range, the way I'm hearing this headphone, again, measured with in-ear microphones on my own head with my DFH-RTF subtracted from the measurement, it is literally flaying my eardrums between 7 and 9 kilohertz. I think there's another resonance there at 10 kilohertz as well, or just above 10 kilohertz. You know, it's fine for bright headphones to exist if that brightness is smooth. And that's the problem that I have here with the Ananda Unveiled, is that it's very good for the rest of its response, but because it's really balanced for the rest of its response, when that one resonance comes in there, it is like nails on a chalkboard for certain recordings. Both the HE1000 Unveiled and the Aria Unveiled are actually brighter overall for the treble. It's just that they're less uneven, and so it makes the presentation come across quite a bit more smooth. Now, I know what you're thinking. Can't you just EQ out that one thing, make one filter with EQ, notch it out, and then be happy? Ordinarily, yes. Ordinarily, that's what I would do. But that resonance is very fine-grained. And unfortunately, it's in a slightly different spot for each channel. This means that I need to get out the scalpel for myself and dial it in per channel, and I can't be confident that that EQ recommendation is going to track for other people in the same spots. While many things about this headphone would suggest that it's a good EQ candidate because it's very open, it's very positionally consistent, and the overall response itself isn't so out of whack that you need to do a ton of adjustments. You'd really just need to do a couple of adjustments. But they're not predictable adjustments. They're not adjustments that I think people can make with confidence. It's not as simple as just adding a bass shelf or just making one filter to reduce a wider range, right? To make a subtle thing. You got to really be specific and figure out where these resonances are for you on your head and then make those adjustments accordingly. And that's a lot more challenging to do. So because of that, I don't love this headphone. Now, as always, I know what some of you guys are going to be asking. How's the soundstage? How's the detail? How are the technicalities? How's all that stuff? It's fine. It's actually great in that regard. But it kind of doesn't really matter because it's so fatiguing to listen to. So the story here, in my opinion, is that this headphone is good for like 90% of its response, but that 10% is so bad that I struggle to really recommend this one over other options in its price range. But I'm going to rank the Ananda now. So what we've been doing lately for our reviews is giving these headphones a ranking out of 10. That's in a ranking list up on headphones.com. And we parse this in terms of bass, mids, treble, and X factor. I've done a whole video on the ranking list and how it works. If you're interested, go and check that out. So for the bass, it does kind of roll off a little bit in the sub bass, and that's not my favorite kind of bass presentation, even though it's decently forward in the mid and upper bass to give it enough kind of presence there. The mids are subjectively very good in my opinion. The only issue is that this has, again, a more modal characteristic for the driver behavior, and that is less than ideal. And the treble would have been great if not for this one intense resonance that's just too much. So for sound quality, that knocks the score down to 4 out of 10. But for the overall score here, I'm going to give this a 4.3 because I do think that the headband is going to be decently comfortable for enough people. And that's all I have to say about the Ananda Unveiled. And as always, if you want to chat with me, you can do so at our forum at forum.headphones.com. You can chat with me on our Discord as well. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.